This is Dion Blumenrader with Big Hoss One Sauce, and you're listening to the best show on all things barbecue with my man, Greg Rempe.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh, should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Good evening and welcome to the really big Barbecue Central show. This is the show that talks about all things that are important to the world of barbecue and grilling. This here show originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evenings, a live fire fun and frivolity show. If you would like to get in contact with the show this evening, or you would like to follow the show during off-show hours, here's how you do it.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. Follow us on all the social media channels at BBQ Central Show. And be sure to subscribe to the show podcast feed on your favorite podcast platform.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you get the newsletter coming up in about 12 minutes from now. We missed him during his last quarterly appearance of 2024, but he's back here in 2025, pulling the first of four. Our pal Steven Raichlen, creator of the Barbecue Bible, author of the Barbecue Bible, and then a litany of other live fire books. So looking forward to catching up with Steven. And then we will move 35 past the first hour. Third Tuesday of the month, 35 past the first hour, brings a visit from the creator of CookoutNews.com, Wes Wright. There's a rumor that Wes Wright might be in final negotiations with HPB Expo to get him down to New Orleans, where the 2025 version of HPB Expo will be coming off here, I believe, in March or early April. We'll get the lowdown from Wes to see if that's actually going to happen, and if so, if he's taking the weekend, if it's a quick pass through. Now, remember, Wes is home based out of around the Detroit area, so it's not like it's just a hop, skip, and a jump down to the HPB Expo in New Orleans. It is a hop, skip, and then a fairly lengthy plane ride down to the Big Easy. So we'll talk to Wes. That'll close the first hour, and then we'll move to the second hour, where we will bring another visit from a literal living legend in the land of barbecue. When you think of barbecue rubs and making barbecue rubs a business, certainly this has to come first and foremost to those that know their history. Byron Chisholm of Butt Rub, buttrub.com, his website, will be joining us, and we'll talk to Byron about a host of things, where he looks at competition at this point, if he's going to be competing, what it looked like when he was competing, what he looks back on most fondly during his time competing, whole bunch of stuff. And you can certainly jump in with your questions as well when we have the legend Byron Chisholm on during the second hour, and that'll bring a close to the show after that, and we will head to week 4 next week. So that's how the show's laying out. Steven Raichlen and Wes Wright in the first hour, Byron Chisholm in the second hour. Don't forget, you can follow me socially, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat, and LinkedIn, all at the handle at BBQ Central Show. And we say good evening to those of you watching tonight through one of our video streaming platforms. You can go to Facebook.com/BBQ Central Show. or twitter.com/BBQ Central Show. You can even watch on Facebook. Let me try again. You can even watch on YouTube, which is youtube.com/@BBQ Central Show, where we do happen to have, surprisingly enough, a new YouTube poll question of the week. And I'm asking everybody this, including all guests, and it is quickly changing paces here with every passing second. The worst games are all-star games of any type, and currently 80% of you are saying, indeed, they are the worst games. I'm with you. The majority of YouTubers that are voting in this poll this very evening. I'm with you, 80%, although 35 to 40 seconds ago it was 89%. In fact, it just creeped up to 82%. They're horrible. They're terrible. Maybe the most watchable is baseball, but even then, certainly unwatchable is the now defunct NFL Pro Bowl game. I watched the NBA All-Star game in the new format. It was just as unwatchable as it's been for the last 25 years. And in the end, what's the big deal about these all-star games, and why are you playing them in the middle of a season? Nobody wants to play defense. Defense gets you injured, and then you just have an offensive onslaught, and that's fun for like the first 4 minutes, but it quickly loses its luster after that. So why not just give these folks the awards and whatever bonus checks they get for being an all-star? And then that's it. Have the three-point contest. Have the dunk contest. Have that whole all-star weekend and dump the game, because the game is trash. It's a waste of my time. In fact, I watched the first two semifinal games and I was so enthralled with the product, I went to bed before the finals. I don't even know who won, and I didn't even care to check. So please do away with all-star games in now basketball. You did it away with NFL. Thank God. That was worse than the all-star game in basketball. But do away with the NBA all-star game altogether. Keep all the weekend, all the skills, all that fun stuff. Keep even keep the dunk contest, because you have that G Leaguer who's the best dunker between G League and the pros, or the major leagues, or the NBA, I don't know, whatever you call it. Mac McClung, he's jumping over cars, very impressive. He's jumping over Evan Mobley, that's very impressive. But we're done with the All-Star game, at least in my house. We've all given it up. Results of the poll question from last week. Would you correct somebody if you heard them say a word incorrectly? And it was very close by the end. 58% of you were saying no, you won't. You would indeed not correct somebody. Fan feedback from the show last week. Jeff Lamb writing in, Greg, I was listening to your show. It reminded me of a funny story that a coworker passed along. He was discussing a sick family member with a sister-in-law. He informed her that said family member had pneumonia. She quickly corrected him and said, it's ammonia, John, not pneumonia. It's ammonia. Love the show. Regards, Jeff. I mean, there's nothing better than that, right? You say the word right, and then somebody jumps in to incorrectly correct you. You've said pneumonia, that is a sickness. And then the sister jumping in, or sister-in-law jumping in. Oh, no, it's ammonia. Oh? John has a cleaning solution issue? Ammonia? Nothing better than that. Steve in Tennessee writing it. It costs $12 to send the mic back. That Andrew Zimmern can afford that. Secondly, yes, the Andrew Zimmern interview the first time around was good. Earth-shaking information? No. More interesting than Robert Moss? Hell no. Getting nationally popular guests like Zimmern, Mike Simon, Joey Chestnut, etc. only strokes your ego, Greg. To most listeners and viewers, We see them all the time on television. I'd rather hear from a Malcolm Reed or Malcolm's wife or Malcolm's son, for that matter, about a Steven Raichlen. Even Doug Scheiding is more interesting to me than Andrew Zimmern. I suggest spike the email, but don't let it fester inside you. The barbecue and food world we live in is far greater than Andrew Zimmern. Now, of course, if you score an Ina Garten interview, that would be most impressive. Regards, Steve. I agree, Steve. I mean, can you imagine if my dream came true and I could somehow land the barefoot Contessa on the Barbecue Central show? That could be the walk-off shot. Maybe a lot of you listeners don't know this about me, but I love Ina Garten a long time. All along the Food Network. I mean, just in love. I would love to talk to her about cooking and where she lives and how she lives and Jeffrey and everything. Is there any way we can make that happen? Believe me, I've tried. I've lured the likes of said Michael Simon through social media. I've reached out to her on social media, of course. Roundly rebuffed at this point, but I'll keep trying. Hey, Steven Reichlin's in the green room. We'll get to him here in just 1 second, but before we do, I'll talk to you about Pits and Spits. Let's kick things off with the Pits and Spits Griddle. This gas griddle combines the power of a traditional grill with the versatility of a flat-top griddle, engineered with precision and crafted from top-quality materials. This versatile griddle is set to revolutionize your outdoor cooking experience. Constructed in 304 marine-grade stainless steel, a fully welded design, the griddle comes with 4 burners to accurately manage your heat zones and gets blistering hot, up to 80,000 BTUs. Made with the signature quality, the griddle is designed to last for generations. Now, for those of you looking to upgrade the outdoor kitchen, you have to check out the built-in pellet cooker from Pits and Spits. Designed for discerning grill masters who demand top-tier performance, this grill is a centerpiece for any serious outdoor kitchen, from low and slow smoking to high-heat grilling. This one can handle it all: briskets and ribs and pizzas and veggies, you name it, this one can cook it. And with the Pits and Spits legendary craftsmanship, you can be confident it's built to last, with stainless steel construction and a design that's as reliable as it is versatile. So if you're ready to take your cooking to the next level, head on over to pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central Show. That's pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central Show. And use the promo code BBQ Central Show for a free spice pack with orders over $500 or more. Once again, it's Pits and Spits, all spelled out, and that's the double T on the Pits and Spits /BBQ Central Show, and then promo code BBQ Central for a free spice pack with orders over $500. Let's talk with an icon next. Stick around.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by Fireboard, makers of Fireboard 2 and Fireboard Pro and Fireboard Spark, Fireboard Beacon, and the all-new wireless Fireboard Pulse. When you use the Fireboard app, you can have access to all your Fireboard devices anywhere in the world, fireboard.com, or call with questions, 816-945-2232. Good folks over at Fireboard. My first guest tonight, as I had mentioned on the way out, an icon in the industry, host of TV shows, creator of a thing called Barbecue University, a James Beard award-winning author and writer of some of the most important books on the topic that we love to talk about each and every week. We welcome back our pal Steven Reichlin to the show. Stephen, welcome back and welcome into 2025 as we missed you at the last part of 2024. We have a new YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody, including all guests, which is this. The worst games are all-star games of any type, yes or no?
Sorry, I got to pass on that one, guys.
Oh, really? All right. I'm going to answer for you. Yes, they're the worst. They're just totally unwatchable. Last time you were on, Stephen, you were just days away. So this is going to age us a little bit, but you were just days away from the 2024 version of Barbecue University. How did it all pan out in the grand scheme?
It was spectacular. We've moved the school to a new location, the Alisal Ranch in Solvang, California, which some of you may recognize because we actually shot Season 3 of Project Smoke and Season 1 of Project Fire at the Alisal. Spectacular property. We've got a great outdoor classroom with 30 grills and smokers, super nice people. And the experience was actually crowned off by the launch of a SpaceX rocket from nearby, I think it's Vanderbilt Air Force Base, about 20 miles away from the resort. So that was pretty spectacular. And let me tell you, when those rockets go up, that's a fire trail for a long time.
You have dates for 2025 picked out for barbecue?
We do.
Yeah.
Yep. We always do it right after Labor Day. So this year it will be the 3rd to the 6th of September.
And this would be at the same location?
Same location, all new recipes, all new grills. The only thing that doesn't change is the camaraderie and our format, which is it's a fully hands-on experience. I spend the first hour showing the important techniques, and then the students actually do the cooking for their own lunch under my supervision. Super fun. We have alums who have come back 12, 13 times, 13 years in a row.
Do you find overall that as you continue to progress in Barbecue University years that the expertise of the class seems to step their game up every year, or do you still get a pretty good mix of folks that maybe have never been around live fire, or a little bit scared of it versus, some of the other ones, as you said, that have been around for a dozen years or more?
Well, I set up the class so that everybody will be comfortable, whether you're a raw beginner or a seasoned pitmaster. I mean, there's some of the dishes are more challenging, some more simple. But in general, the level of sophistication absolutely has grown. I remember back in the Middle Ages when I started Barbecue University, I had to explain the difference between direct grilling, indirect grilling. I mean, there's much more sophistication now. Many of our students are multiple grill owners, have multiple grills and smokers in their backyard. What doesn't change, though, is, it all boils down to learning to control the fire, not have it control you. And, I've been teaching now for 25 years. I always learn something new, and I like to think our students do too.
If you could go back to a previous Barbecue University location, which one would you go back to and why?
Well, probably, each one has its merits, but probably the Broadmoor. I love being at the Broadmoor. And that was as much for the setting and infrastructure it was for the staff. In fact, I love the staff so much that former Broadmoor food and beverage manager, director Craig Reed is now my partner in the new Barbecue University. So we brought Joe Archie, the former steward from the Broadmoor, over to Barbecue University. Steve Nestor, who many of you know from my website, he runs our test kitchen for barbecuebible.com. He's one of our grill wranglers. Jared Ryder, my social media guy, who, by the way, whose son was featured in yesterday's Post, celebrated his first year birthday. And nice. We were kind of the question I posed to everybody is, what age should you start training your kids to love and do barbecue? One may be a little young, but, it's never too early.
So we also had a great holiday season just pass us by, and I'm wondering how the holidays were spent for you.
Well, the holidays were spent on my sailboat, actually. So I did a little grilling during the weekend. In fact, last night we had a family cookout. We cooked beautiful veal chops over my wood-burning gaucho grill, smoke roasted potatoes. Pretty simple dinner by Reichland standards, but, when you put meat to a wood fire, you don't need a lot of complication.
I had no idea that you were a sailboat captain.
Yeah, that's kind of my secret hobby. And when I'm not, working 60 hours a week, writing and teaching and doing TV, I love to get out on the bay and just let it all go.
Is that a hobby you've picked up like later in life, or were you from a family of sailors?
I was not from a family of sailors. However, I took my first sailing class in college. And of course, moving down here to Florida is, we live a 5-minute bike ride from Biscayne Bay. And I keep my boat moored at the Coconut Grove Sailing Club. So it's pretty nice. 15 minutes, I can be out on one of the most gorgeous sailing bodies of water in the country.
You ever sail to the Bahamas or anything adventurous like that?
Last big trip was down to Key Largo, Bahamas trip, Bimini trip coming up in April. So I'm really excited about that.
So you can navigate the maps and look at the stars and all that fun stuff?
I can do all that fun stuff.
Wow.
I have to confess to you that it's a lot easier now that I have my Navonics chart plotter, and basically you just put in the coordinates and it takes you there. But if that ever fails, you learn to navigate. The beauty of sailing, it's always, in a way, it's a lot like barbecue, because it's the same elements, but it's always different depending on the weather, the wind, the sun, your mood. It's really fun. And by the way, I do have a charcoal grill on my boat, so we sometimes do a little barbecue on the boat as well.
Do you keep a sailing journal? So this weekend, weather was X, humidity was X, blah, 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 and like people do for their cooks?
Yeah, I should. I don't. Nah. I spend so much time writing, Greg, that I don't really write my logbook as much as I should.
I'm going to take you to task right now.
Okay.
You have instant read meat thermometers. How often, if ever, do you boil a pot of water or make an ice bath and check them for accuracy?
Only when I write to do it in a book, and then I test it in the book. But to be honest with you, I haven't done it for a long time.
Really? Oh, it's one of the things that I preach over and over again on the very, very small times, there are a few times that I'm asked to be a guest. People say, well, what's your tip or what's your trick? I say, well, I think everybody by now knows they should have a quality instant read meat thermometer. However, doesn't mean that thing can't go out of calibration for some reason. So once a month, I take all of my 4 or 5 Thermopens and Fireboard Sparks, boil a pot of water, make sure they're all hitting 102, because sometimes, every once in a while, one goes haywire, and heaven forbid that be the one you use to start temping your prime rib for Christmas.
Well, you know what? I'm writing a new book right now, working on a new book called Barbecue University. And I think you, Mr. Rempe, have just earned a paragraph in the new book. So thank you for that.
That's right.
I will boil my thermometers. Check them out. Of course, don't forget, you have this thermometer right here, too, at the end of your hand. And, the poke test, cooking a steak or a chop, I'm a poke test guy.
Do you think from a you being you, if somebody is having Stephen, let's say you're not hosting holidays or you're being invited to be a guest for a cooking event of some sort, do people inherently become anxious if you're showing up because they don't want to be judged by you, or worse, they feel like they are not going to be meeting some type of expectation because Stephen Reichland is Stephen Reichland?
Sadly and weirdly, I think people are intimidated. And I say sadly and weirdly because there is no one more appreciative of an invitation than I am. There is no one less critical than I am. I firmly believe that, when people invite you over, it comes from the heart, and everybody has a specialty, and there's really no such thing as a mistake in the kitchen. And I would never, ever, ever criticize anyone, or either in print or on social media. So please invite me over, because many people are afraid to, and they shouldn't be.
Just between us gals, do you secretly judge people when you're a guest?
I really don't. I'm a very much a glass half full kind of guy, and I try and appreciate, the generosity and kindness and warmth and hospitality. Those go a long way in my book. And once I have that, my belly's full and my heart is full.
I have to tell you, I am 100% on board with you. In fact, I wish people would have me over for dinner at their house way more often, but it usually ends up people stall hoping I'm going to be tossing out the invite, because I think they're afraid I'm going to. I mean, who am I? I'm just some idiot on the internet. I've won no competitions. I've written no books. I have, no expertise except time and space behind me and a bunch of grills that people send me. But other than that, I mean, I would be just as happy going over to somebody's house and eating whatever you prepare and be grateful and never even think twice about it, other than the fact that, hey, this is great. It's not me doing it this time. And oh, by the way, it's a little cheaper for me too, because I'm the guy that's buying all the meat and everything else.
Absolutely. And somebody else is putting themselves out there. But, this goes way, way back. I used to be the restaurant critic for Boston Magazine. That was kind of my first big writing job. And I noticed, I tried to, come in anonymously, but I noticed whenever I was recognized, the meal invariably would have flaws and stumbles. And I sort of imagined the chef making something that was 98% great. And this, oh my God, Reichland's there, got to do it over again. So he does it over again. And the meanwhile, I'm kind of looking at my watch and saying, gee, the service is really kind of slow here. So you can't win. Now, if you ever, when you're invited to somebody else's home, be gracious, bring a nice gift, and, say the food is delicious, and it usually is.
Stephen Reichland is known for writing books. Anything on the short-term or long-term horizon we should be on the lookout for?
Yeah, a couple of things. So I have a new book coming out at the end of April. It's a book called Project Griddle. Lately, I've been really getting into using my outdoor griddle. In fact, if you'll excuse me for 1 sec, I'll show it to you. Hang on 1 sec.
Okay. Well, highly unplanned. Stephen has vacated the premises. He's gonna pull a griddle out of someone. Intense. All right, I can't wait to see this.
Here you go. First copy here, guys, and I'm showing it to you. Let's
look at
that. Right there.
Very nice.
Because this is like, they spit a few copies off the press to make sure the printing is right, and then the actual major printing won't happen for a couple more weeks. But anyway, that's coming out in April. I'm very excited about that. And the next book after that will be Barbecue University, which will, I guess, sum up a lifetime in this crazy field of live fire cooking, and recipes and techniques from the school that we were just talking about, and what I've learned. And that could very well be the last Reichland barbecue book.
Really?
Maybe.
Are we getting an exclusive on the show? Are we calling it a career after Barbecue University?
Well, we'll see. After what I've written 33 books, so it's at some point you gotta say enough.
When you're working on the Griddle book, are you doing the standard, going all over not only the country but the world to see what everybody's doing on Griddle? Yeah, because I know it's griddling isn't new necessarily, but it seems to have really, the griddle freestanding has really seemed to take over the backyards over the last 5 years, 8 years or so. So I wonder what the rest of the world looks like.
Well, absolutely. Okay, so think about it. First of all, three major food cultures have made the griddle the center of their cuisine, right? In Japan, you have the teppan, like teppanyaki, which is sort of popularized in the Japanese steakhouse. In Spain, you've got the plancha, which has given rise to the tapas bar and an infinite number of Spanish dishes. In the United States, we have the griddle, hello, your favorite greasy spoon. Uh, and then, then there are little micro regions of griddles. Like in Italy, they have something called a piastra, and they make something called piadina, which is like their version of a quesadilla. So, of course, this being a Reichland book, my griddling takes you all over the world. What is new, though, these new stand-up outdoor griddles that kind of make you feel psychologically like you're standing at a grill, that is new, and it's big, and I think it's one reason why griddling is so hot. But I have to tell you, I came at this in a very funny way because, I made a grill top griddle, and I started by putting the griddle on my Weber kettle grill, and I throw some wood chunks on the coals so, I could generate a little smoke and still claim that it was barbecue even though it was on a griddle. But there are a lot of foods that actually cook better on a griddle than on a grill grate. Think of breakfast. I mean, French toast, pancakes, eggs, think of desserts, So all of my grills at home have the live fire part, and then I've got like a cast iron griddle off to one side. And even when you're grilling, let's say a ribeye steak or a veal chop, I'll go back and forth between the live fire to get the smoke and the char, and then move to the hot griddle to kind of get an even cooking temperature, took it all the way through. So, and there's some pretty cool techniques coming out. I hope we'll talk before the book comes out, and then so some of them are like top secret until the book comes out.
All right. Yeah, we'll have you back on for sure so we can promote that. I was late to the not only griddle game, but then accordingly the smash burger game that was probably out running feverishly wild for a good couple years before I got into it. George Motes told me that using Wagyu beef for smash burgers is a complete waste to use for smash burgers. Would you agree or disagree with the Burger King, George Motes?
Well, first of all, let's understand that Wagyu is a giant term that embraces so many different grades and cuts and qualities that it's almost meaningless. But if you were to say, if you're using real Wagyu that has very intense marbling, more along the lines of a Japanese A3 or A5 Wagyu, I do disagree. In fact, I think you get a great, what makes a great smash burger, right? It's a lot of fat, and it's the pressure that you apply and the surface heat that sort of fries the edges and makes them crispy and lacy. And, fat is the key to that. Now, my gateway into griddling you'll read it in the introduction of Project Griddle, was a Japanese A5 steak, right? Okay, so that is the A5 Wagyu. That is the fattiest steak. The stuff looks like white lace tablecloth, white lace laid over a red tablecloth. I mean, that's the degree of marbling. If you try and direct grill that, you're going to just set it on fire, right? The dripping fat's going to go everywhere. So I used my griddle. Griddling is the only way you can cook a piece of meat like that. We're talking about a piece of meat where 3-4 ounces might cost $100, $120. It's and by the way, that's all you want to eat because it's so rich. It's it's kind of like eating pure fat. But to me, the griddle, that's the perfect way to cook an A5 Wagyu. It's also the perfect way to cook a smash burger.
Stephen Reichland is here and telling us everything we need to know. Go to barbecuebible.com. That's his website. And, of course, we'll have you back on here as the Griddle book gets ready to come out so we can learn about the top secret recipes that you had just mentioned a few seconds ago. Stephen, always appreciate the time. Great to catch up with you, and we'll talk to you again in a couple months.
Ditto for me, and you do such an awesome job. So everybody listening there, we're really lucky to have Mr. Rempe.
Appreciate it, Stephen. Very kind words that I appreciate. Stephen's the best. I was telling him when we were sound checking over the weekend that one of the highlights of my life still was sending out, and this is all the way back in 2006 when it was just the podcast. I had found an email, figured it was going to a publisher of some sort or a PR person saying, oh, geez, would you ever consider coming on my podcast? And it sucked back then. I was horrible. And within 20 minutes, Steven Reichlin himself wrote back and said, would love to do it. Just let me know how this is going to happen. And here we are, almost 20 years later, still having chats about live fire and cooking and a whole bunch of other stuff. So continues to be my honor and pleasure to say that I know Steven Reichlin. And he shows up right here on the show, and we have some great conversations outside of the show as well. Can you believe it? Me! So appreciative. Hey, Wes Wright is also in the green room from cookoutnews.com. We're going to be talking about some new news stories. What do we love about ceramic cookers? We love that they're fuel efficient, yes. We love that you can achieve low and slow temperatures to do those traditional barbecue cuts. Also, we love that you can get rip-roaring hot to do the high-temperature grilling of steaks and other thin cuts. But what's missing in the everyday ceramic cooker lineup? The real ability to do true two-zone cooking. Two-zone cooking is important to both professional and backyard cooks alike. It's the best way to manage a fire and cook with confidence. However, getting a two-zone fire and a round ceramic cooker is not very realistic. Why? Because it's round. Enter Primo Grill and the game-changing oval design. The shape gives you the ability to execute the two-zone setup that you desire. It also gives you the other ceramic grill benefits as well. When you break it down, there's more than 60 different ways to configure the Primo cooker, so you're only limited by your culinary imagination. Great number of accessories, as we always talk about, only sold through dealers. So what do you have to do there? Go to primogrill.com, find a dealer locator, and then visit the dealer near you. Check out all the ovals that are available for sale, and then buy the one that best fits your needs. Here's the bottom line. Best ceramics in the biz, we know this. Patented technology, yes. True two-zone cooking capabilities, yes. And multiple sizes of ovals, yeah, and they're all located at a dealer near you. Primogrill.com, that's primogrill.com. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram. If you want to watch somebody cooking with those, check out Malcolm Reed on How to Barbecue Right, because he signed up with them. We're back with Wes Wright. Stick around, we'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
And we thank Steven Reichlin for joining us last segment. BarbecueBible.com, his main website. Portion of the show being brought to you by Pit Barrel Cooker, the most unbelievable outdoor cooker on the planet. Currently available in 3 sizes, lots of accessories, of course. If you're a beginner, if you're a professional, it doesn't matter. You just want to add this cooker to the arsenal ASAP. Visit pitbarrelcooker.com and tell them the Barbecue Central Show sent you. My next guest tonight runs the cookoutnews.com website, and he is here to talk about the latest in the live fire industry as far as business is concerned. A multiple-time Barbecue Central Show's Guest Hall of Fame nominee. We say hello to Wes Wright from cookoutnews.com. Wes, we have a YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody, including all guests, so that's you. The worst games are all-star games of any type to watch, yes or no?
Yeah, that's a definite yes. They haven't figured out the format anywhere.
Well, they did. They got rid of that stupid football game, thank God, and turned it into kind of whatever the nonsense is now. I don't even watch it. But they refuse to get rid of that NBA All-Star game. They tried the new format on Saturday or whenever the hell it was, Sunday night. And first of all, 8 o'clock for that game? Bullshit. I mean, 2 o'clock in the afternoon is stretching it a little late for me. Give me the rest of my evening, for crying out loud. But then to break it up into 3 games to 40 and 3 different teams. And I'm telling you, by the time the second game ended, I called it a night. They weren't just going to turn around and run again. They had some nonsense time filled to make sure everybody could rest up for the last game before they went to bed. I was like, who gives a shit about this? Do away with the game, give them the awards and checks and whatever, and like that's it. Nobody remembers any of the NBA All-Star games. They just can look back into the annals of the league and go, yeah, he was an X amount of time All-Star, or he only made it once. That's it. That's all I want to see from now on for NBA. Just leave it alone.
Yeah, actually, I'd tune in more to like the skills competitions and stuff like that, both for the NFL and NBA, as opposed to the actual game.
I said, keep the NBA weekend, eliminate the All-Star game. You want to do a three-point shooting contest? Yes. I was actually pissed that they dropped the Steph Curry, Sabrina Ionescu, man-woman three-point challenge. Yeah. Thought maybe they were even going to up the ante this year, drop into Caitlin Clark. I heard there might be Steph Curry and whoever the other douchebag Splash Brother was, and have Ionescu and Caitlin Clark team up, and then have Curry and the other guy team up, but that didn't work out. They couldn't. I don't know what the hell the problem was there, but I'm okay with that. Even the dunk contest, I've been down on the dunk contest for years until this G League guy came up out of nowhere and started jumping over cars. They showed, I don't know if you saw it or not, but they showed Blake Griffin jumping over a Kia a handful of years ago when he was in the dunk contest. He jumped over the front hood. Mac McClung jumped over the highest part of the car, like roof. It was insane.
Yeah, and he's not a tall guy.
No way. Like Blake Griffin's a real prototypical size basketball player, 6'8", 6'9", whatever he was. Real dunker too, by the way. Very, very muscular. But Mac McClung is very unassuming and appears to never be getting a sniff into the NBA. Is like G League for life. He's been an all-star in the G League, but I don't know. That gets you to be like, the smartest dumb guy in the room, I guess.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of transition from G Leaguers.
No, this is not a sports show, so we're going to leave it right there. I was almost going to go way sideways on that. Let's talk some business. Blaze Grills. This is a brand we hardly ever talk about on the show. I don't know if we've actually ever talked about it on the show. I had a question for Derek Riches one time before he quit the show for the second time, because he had made a reference handful of years ago that maybe Blaze was going to be under some kind of a lawsuit because of a built-in gas leak, a built-in grill, that there was a gas leak issue and there were some explosions and some people died. You ever remember let me say this legally, allegedly, reportedly. So did you hear any of that as that was potentially happening, allegedly, reportedly?
No, I don't remember that story. That slipped my radar.
Yeah.
Blaze Grills, they're the house brand for BBQ guys, aren't they?
I don't know.
I believe they're owned by barbecue guys.
They always have a magnificent display at HPB Expo, which I'll talk to you about, both in number of grills and then just sheer space that they take up. But I remember the first year, they were the first people to introduce an all stainless steel Kamado cooker. It looked absolutely spacey and ridiculous all at the same time. And it's still at every trade show they do.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm right, which I'm pretty sure I am, that Blaze Grills is owned by Barbecue Guys. Barbecue Guys is headquartered in Louisiana, I believe. So I would expect them at the HPB Expo this year.
Weber and Blackstone. Oh, wait, I didn't ask the question. Blaze is promoting that they are going to be changing the grilling industry on March 5th. Any idea, aside from what you've seen on social media, which is kind of a blacked out, or there's a better word, like what do they call it? In the dark. I don't know what the hell I'm trying to say. But any idea what they're potentially forecasting or what they might be putting out in the market to change the face of live fire?
I don't have any insight, just judging by the picture, though. It looks like on the far right corner, that looks like a digital controller to me. So I would assume it's, digitally controlled, maybe Wi-Fi, which I don't know why you'd really need on a griddle, but that's my guess, is it's something digital like that.
So nothing that we haven't seen already, potentially.
Not really. I mean, Loco does that with the dialing in their temperatures. I don't think we've seen a connected griddle that I can remember. So I guess that would be different if that is in fact what they're doing.
Any merger and closing updates as it relates to the Weber Blackstone deal that you've heard?
No, I haven't heard anything. I mean, I wouldn't. It's a little early still in the year for when they said it would happen. I would assume that they'll make some kind of announcement once they get closer and they clear regulatory approvals and things like that. Usually companies do that.
I was told by No Names Please that they were thinking this whole thing would have been done by the end of last month.
Oh, really?
Pretty aggressive?
I mean, I don't know how far along they were in the process, but according to, their press release they put out, to me, it seemed like more end of Q1, Q2. That was the vibe I got.
Here's another brand I don't know if we've even ever talked about on the show for as long as you've been doing it. Smokin' Brothers. So for the noobs in the chat rooms and wherever the hell else you're watching this, most known for building pellet cookers, right?
Yeah, they do. They're based in Missouri. They have American-made pellet smokers. I mean, that's really their claim to fame. Do they work with Myron Mixon?
I think recently they've taken the manufacturing away from whoever that company was in New Hampshire or wherever they were building those things up in the Northeast, or maybe they're still building the live fire cookers, and they've taken the pellet cookers down to Smokin' Brothers, but they are supposed to be building his pellet cookers, I guess.
But yeah, that's their claim to fame is robust American-made pellet smokers.
So the new news for Smokin' Brothers is that they acquire Gateway Drum Smoker from friend of show and Barbecue Central Show's guest Hall of Famer, I think, Tim Shear. I believe I'm right on that. Surprised on that move?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little surprised just because they were so entrenched with pellet smokers that, it's a major category departure. Tim's also based in Missouri, I believe, right? So it's, and I think that's where Gateway is. So, geographically it might make sense. And it's a new opportunity for them to grow their base and what they do. And I think also the Gateway barrels, I think those are US made too. So it fits kind of with the ethos of the other brands.
Aside from being regionally close to each other, what are the other wins for Smokin' Bros taking on a drum smoker?
I mean, drum smokers are still kind of a pretty niche product. They're well known. They do really good in competitions, but like your average Joe on the street doesn't really, look at those or buy those. I think it just helps with them that they're getting a brand that has some pretty good credentials with how well Tim did on it, competitively. Mm-hmm. So you're getting a solid brand that you can build off of.
Do we want to guess how much money Tim Shear gets for selling Gateway Drum Smokers?
Yeah, I'm not sure about what do you think those did in business? Like how much revenue per year?
All right, let's see. Do this, carry the 1. 5 times 2, multiplier of 5. All right, I have a guess. I think Tim Shear walked away with $17.5 million. It's just my quick math. What do you think?
I'd be pretty shocked at that number. I would say you could take, multiple times down off that.
So I think maybe if he walked away with $1 million, I would be thinking, oh, good for him. And that might even be a little bit high. I don't think it does a lot of yearly high level revenue. Or maybe less than you think. I mean, they are pretty expensive for drum smokers. You compare them to pit barrel cooker. Certainly not necessarily the same specs, but it's in the same niche of industry. It's barrel cooker. And I can get one much cheaper from Pit Barrel that I can from Gateway Drum Smoker and be pretty happy with its performance. So I think from that type of revenue, just because it costs more, it can generate more, but I don't know what kind of units he's pushing out. And I would assume it's probably a little less because some of those are custom and they're going to take a little longer.
Yeah, and he sold them mainly through the dealer network, and I'm sure like Blues Hog makes way more money than the Gateway Smokers too. Just as a kind of an aside there, but yeah, I'd say around 7 figures would be my guess. I don't know if he had any debt into it though that he had to pay off too, so that goes into the equation.
I think he wanted to spend more time with that cow semen project that he's got going on down at Marble Ridge. He seemed way more into that last time we talked. Not that he didn't care about the Gateway drum business, but maybe the passion project was more of the American Wagyu stuff.
Yeah, I think, it seemed like he was getting into that, and he has some, are they Iberico pigs or some other
that's right.
stuff like that. That seemed like that was kind of his interest as he was going into, just from stuff I've, heard and read. So I agree with you there.
Next company we're talking about is the Good Charcoal Company. I have tried on numerous occasions to have, is it Stan Jablonski or whoever one of the co-owners is? Ben, yeah. Just hasn't. We've just missed each other like ships in the middle of the day, and I'll continue to work on that. But continue to see a charcoal company that I thought probably would have been out of business 5 years ago continues to be not only in business, but now securing distribution, selling through Walmart. Big deal.
Yeah, my guess is that they're doing a test. It's like for like merchandising. They're selling, it looked like in Tampa and Orlando, some 6-pound briquettes, which they came out with a briquette product last year. But a lot of those, big retailers, they'll do a test in certain markets, see if it grows, and then take it from there. So we'll see if it catches on or not. But I mean, they've been entrenched with Sam's Club for a few years now, so they have somewhat of a relationship with that company.
Target too, right?
Yeah, they have some impressive distribution. Yeah, Target, Lowe's. I mean, they're in a lot of. They don't advertise as much for some reason, but at least they were in distribution through a lot of grocery stores too. So they're pretty widespread.
You ever used it?
Yeah, I haven't used the briquette, which came out last year. I've used just their original lump product though, and it worked well at pretty low ash. It had some good heat. It was, if you like a lot of smoke, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but I don't go crazy with smoke. It's almost like it tastes like oak, like when we cook with oak. So if you're grilling, you're not going to taste it that much. It's pretty mild, but I liked it. Big chunks in the bag I got, so that was a plus.
Charbroil is, so this is something that maybe I missed. Charbroil bought Spark Grills at the end of the year last year?
Yeah, they did. I was surprised. I stumbled across that because I was looking through like patent applications, and I noticed a patent that looked like Spark Grills, but it was owned by W.C. Bradley. And so I read through the information there, and there's part of a purchase agreement where, Spark Grills, they grew in prominence and were a startup through the whole pandemic, went in big, started manufacturing more just as the bottom fell out of the market and they were going out of business, or they went out of business. And then at the end of that, W.C. Bradley, or it's listed under Charbroil, I guess, but they jumped in and must have bought them.
You think we're going to see that thing again?
I don't think we'll see it in that form. I'd be curious if they'll use that technology though. I think Spark Grills was a cool idea. I liked it. I for people that aren't like dedicated, grillers, just do it occasionally. It was a cool idea. They have they call them bricks, which were like their own proprietary briquettes. And
I think that was the revenue stream. That's like parts and service in the trucking industry. The grill would be the truck, and you don't make any money on that, but you do make money on parts and service. And that brick you could only buy through them, and it was not cheap, and that was pretty much the only way you were going to fire it halfway decently.
Yeah, but with some of that technology, like W.C. Bradley just released a new Tahoma, which is their temperature controlled charcoal grill. So it's the same kind of idea. If they get into that and they can use something off those patents, I think that's where the real value lies. I don't think the actual product itself.
This is out of left field, Wes.
A barbecue
Barbecue Central Show exclusive news update.
Greg Remford reporting from the breaking news desk here in Cleveland, Ohio, the city that breaks the most live fire breaking news across the country. Nay, the globe. I have just received an email from none other than one of the principals at Winners Products, James Howe. Why does that matter? Because I think in August was the last time I had any communication with him. He fell off the face of the earth. Send him, emails every now and again. Hey, James, what happened? Hey, I'd love to catch up. And then, of course, my mind, hey, James, did I offend you somewhere along the line? Do I need to send you an apology? Blah, blah. And 13 days ago, I sent an email, subject line, what happened to James? And then in the body, I said, really, did I offend you? Can I make it up to you? And tonight, just 2 minutes ago, he has communicated back, so he's at least alive. I didn't read the whole email yet because I don't want to be that rude. But in case anybody was wondering, like, what the hell happened to James, because he did a number of great segments with great insight to what happens in a manufacturer standpoint. And then all of a sudden, he dropped off the face of the earth. So, number one, James is safe. And number two, he has communicated back. So there could be a potential segment coming up with James here in the future. All right, last thing before I let you go, Weston, appreciate the time. One of the brands that has really made pellet cookers accessible to the masses, Pitbopss. Of course, we know that, was it W.C. Bradley bought Pitbopss too?
They did,
Okay,
yeah.
so they were in acquisition mode last year. Here's a thing called the Pitbopss Phoenix, something I wasn't necessarily expecting them to see, but ran the video. It seemed pretty cool. From an aesthetics standpoint, looks pretty neat. What do you know about the Phoenix, and why would I want to like it, or why would I not want to like it?
I think it's cool because they market it more as like a traditional grill as opposed to a pellet smoker. It doesn't have the, like normally on a pellet smoker, it has like a deflector plate over it. This has more of like a diffuser, so it puts heat all around. It's a traditional kettle grill look, and it puts heat all around, the underside of the grill grates. And it's designed more for grilling. It goes to, I think, 500 degrees max temp, but also you can cook charcoal on it too. So I think that's pretty cool that you don't have to pick between charcoal or pellets. You can fill it up with charcoal, and then it even has an ignition cycle on it. So you don't need to mess with a chimney. You just have it ignite, and then it uses your pellet hopper to heat the charcoal, and you can cook with charcoal too if you want.
Any idea on price point?
I forget what it was, but it wasn't I want to say like $400 maybe.
It was like sub 400 or right around there. I mean,
yeah, it was right.
Bad.
I want to say it was around there. Yeah.
I like the look of that. It kind of reminded me a little bit of that Rectech Bullseye, but it also
exactly. Yeah.
I can't believe I'm going to say this about Pitbopss, but it also appeared to be a little bit more robust. That Rectech Bullseye always appeared to be very chintzy. I saw some guy. This was a long time ago when it had first come out. He had a little bit of a burn back into the pellet hopper. He took out his phone and he recorded him one hand launching it off of his deck. You ever seen that video circulating around the internet? I have to find it and send it. It is an incredible video for the time it was taking it. But it just hits the ground and all the sparks and the ash fly everywhere. And the guy's saying what a piece of shit it was, blah, blah, blah. But that one had always seemed a little chintzy. I know people that have it and people like it a lot. This one just seemed a little bit more robust for a Pitbopss even.
Yeah, it has a good look to it, has a nice finish on it. I think it's a pretty cool product.
Here's what I want to caution everybody if you're going to buy this cooker, or if you're going to buy that Bullseye for that matter. If you're going to be running it into the 500 degree range, remember this. You are pumping a lot of money through that auger to keep that heat up, especially if you're doing it in the colder months for those of us that experience a winter or at least a cold change. I don't know if a lot of people realize this, but remember, on average, cooking wood pellets are running about $1 a pound or more. Again, on the average, sometimes you can find them cheaper. So be mindful if you want to use it as a pellet grill, you're really burning through a lot of money. Wes, do you think the general consumer is even having that as a thought in their head, that as they run at 500 degrees, they're pumping through a lot of money?
No, I don't think people are thinking about that. You know, Pitbopss makes some cheap pellets too, which is nice. No, but it did make me wonder if did RecTech ever get back to you about their pellet powered griddle? Because that thing has to consume some pellets.
Oh yeah, no doubt. No, never.
Griddle plate.
Yeah, we're never able to put an interview together on that. You know what? For as much as we talked about it for 2 months, I've never heard about it again.
No, I haven't either. Yeah.
I'll have to follow up with that. Maybe it's gone. Could it have been here and gone already?
My guess is they probably still sell it, but I've never seen one in the wild or heard of anyone using one. I don't see videos on Instagram or anything. So,
all right, do me a favor. When you get off, send me a quick email and just put in the subject line Pitbopss Griddle or RecTech Griddle, and then I'll start doing some follow up on it. See if we can't talk about it next month.
Yeah, sounds good.
Any cool stories we should be on the lookout for coming to cookoutnews.com?
Yeah, I have one that's written that that I don't know when I'll release yet, but for your audience, Greg, it's Traeger appears to be working on another griddle themselves called, I'm going to butcher the pronunciation. It's a mountain range in Utah called, I would call it Wasatch or Wasatch. Someone out there screaming at their computer, but it's there's a trademark filing for that name, and usually their trademark filings come through. So I would guess, I don't know, maybe a 4-burner griddle. That's my just wild guess of what they're working on.
Gas powered, I would assume.
Doesn't say from the trademark, but I would, just like RecTech, I don't see why you wouldn't go with gas. It's the best way to do it. So
no doubt. This is Wes Wright. You can find him at cookoutnews.com. Keep an eye out for that article when he posts, and check it out, cookoutnews.com. Check it out every day. Why not? Because there's a lot of great stuff. Catch up on some of the old stuff. Wes, always appreciate the time, and we will see you in March.
Yep. Thanks, Greg.
You got it. Bang-up job as always. Indulging me in sports talk, and also that our pal James Howe is alive. I mean, this is... I don't know how good this show is going to be compared to all of the other shows that I might do in 2025, but as we sit here smack dab in the middle of February 2025, which, by the way, rapidly coming to a close, James Howe is alive. Tell you, if you only knew how many emails I was pumping off to this guy and text messages and just nothing. And it's not like I'm the boyfriend when the girl breaks up with me. Now I'm a stalker. It's just that he was like gone. So I was worried. I was even touching base with some of his support staff in Toronto, like, hey, if he hates me, that's okay. Can you just let me know if he's alive? No, we can't. You must find out on your own. You must persist. So I did. It's the blessing and the curse of being a sales guy. Until I hear an answer, it's always, I'm going to go. You got to tell me no. Anyway, let's wrap up this first hour. And we will do that here in just 1 second. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. A little bit over with my last guest, Wes Wright from cookoutnews.com, and we thank him for joining us. So we will try and recapture the clock here as we lead into the second hour, and then, of course, we got Byron Chisholm coming up here in about 11 minutes. You are listening and watching Barbecue Central show right here on the Barbecue Central Network. Stick around. We'll be right back.